Hello, Movie Crusaders, and welcome to another episode of the Weekly Crusaders. My name's Sean Wasserkrug. With me, as always, is Brian Michaels. And today we are talking about two movies that came out during the week of June 18th to June 24th. Definitely two movies that we're both fond of. This is first time view for me to watch Brian's movie. I've never seen Brian's movie before this week. Brian, though, I know had seen my movie beforehand and did like it. So at least I don't have to defend myself this time around. But what are your general thoughts of the two movies before we jump into them?
No, I had seen both of these before, and I really did. I enjoyed them the first time I watched them. But honestly, I think watching them now, I was very excited about this week, both of these movies. And I think watching them now, I think I actually enjoyed them both more this time around for some reason.
Good. We're gonna start with mine, and I made the statement last week that this is the best shark movie since Jaws came out in the 1970s. And I still, after watching this again, still think that holds up. And we are talking about the 2016 film, The Shallows. The Shallows came out June 24th, 2016, had a budget of $17 million, had a weekend opening of $16.80 million. It was fourth its opening weekend. That was its highest ranking. And had a finished box office of $119.10 million, $55.12 million domestic, and $63.98 million international. Now, before anyone starts jumping on my ass for saying the statement that I meant, here's what I mean by that. I almost like Jurassic Park in a way. I get really annoyed. There's three things that really fucking annoy me when it comes to movies. Certain subject matters movies. One, don't make pro wrestling a fucking joke. Because I did it for 14 years, and when you make it the butt of the joke, like in Nacho Libre, I get really, really fucking pissed off. And I hate that fucking movie because of that. Whereas you have movies like The Wrestler, and even though it's a comedy, Ready to Rumble, I actually really like what they do with the wrestling part of it. And like I said, even two weeks ago with No Holds Barred, it's like, yes, the movie around it is shit, but they actually do give a shit about the wrestling in that movie.
Well, it was the director of Napoleon Dynamite. What did you want, dude?
I was hoping Jack Black wouldn't have made it fucking stupid, but I failed in that respect. And then two, don't make dinosaurs a joke and don't make sharks a joke. They are serious, especially sharks, because they're fucking real. I mean, dinosaurs are extinct. It is what it is. But for some reason, I don't get it, is why sharks immediately have to be in every shitty, cheesy, fucking boneheaded, stupid sci-fi made-for-TV movie. Why we gotta have Ghost Shark and Raptor Shark and Sharkopolis for Octopussy or whatever the fuck it is. I don't care. Why do shark movies have to be a joke all the time? Why can't we have serious shark movies? We had Jaws. Jaws 2 was serious. Jaws 3, I don't hate, but it was the whole 3D thing. It didn't work for a lot of people. Jaws 4 was just fucking dumb. Deep Blue Sea, I thought it's funny, but it's funny because of more of the technology at the time and because of that one moment with Samuel Jackson. Other than that, Deep Blue Sea's a solid film. The Meg, Brian and I are on opposite sides of this. I like the first like 3/4 of the Meg until they get to the final act, and then they just make a joke out of it where Brian loves that part and he did not like the first 3/4. So we're on opposite sides of that. And yes, I know there's like what was it, like deep water? Is it no what was that one where like the two surfers get abandoned?
Open Water.
Yeah,
Deep Water was the
Deep Water,
right?
Was Ben Affleck. That's a totally different film. Open Water and 47 Meters Down, all that kind of shit. But the shark's not even in the movie. It's at the very end, you're like, oh, a shark ate him. But spoilers for Open Water. But I like my sharks movies to be serious and to feel like the actual repercussions and the stakes are for the characters are high, and to not do the cliche shit that we see in every stupid shark movie on sci-fi or anything like that, like the Meg did at the end of its third act in the first film, and the fucking new one. My God, it is. Brian thinks that looks stupid fun. I think
that there is a place for both. I think that I really like serious shark movies like this and Jaws, things like this. Honestly, I enjoy this one as much as Jaws, but then again, I think Jaws is overrated in my opinion. A great movie, but just not Great. Yeah, I
Ooh,
said it.
don't even start that. Don't even start that.
But I think there's also a place for other movies that are just having fun with it, and I think there's no problem with there being both kinds of movies.
But the problem is that 9 times out of 10, it's schlocky bullshit and
Well, that's
then
because you're
one
counting
serious.
all that straight to video shit. You hear more about it because there's so many. They just pump those things out. If you talk about
I mean, fuck,
theatrically released shark movies, it's a pretty even mix, honestly.
I don't know. We got that fucking Tommy Wiseau shark one coming out now. It's like, fuck
Hey,
you.
there's one I'm still considering for Christmas time for Cinemaschism called Santa Jaws. Just saying. Anyway, move on.
And I'll allow it because it's Christmas. Because it's Christmas, I'll allow it. Anyway, with The Shallows, I'll even admit this, I am not a Blake Lively fan. I don't think she's that great of an actress. I haven't really seen her in anything that I really like or care about. But when I saw this movie, I was like, I'll check it out. Like, it's a shark movie. It looks like it's being serious, but it's Blake Lively. How good can it be? And I was blown away by how serious they took the subject matter, the story that they told with it. It's simple, but it works. The simplicity of the story of the character for Blake Lively, it works. It holds weight. And the shark is actually terrifying throughout this film. And everything in this movie, you didn't have the whole like gas tank in the mouth, come here, you son of a bitch, or open wide, son of a bitch. Kind of thing. Everything in this just logistically made sense for a shark film. And that's why this is one of my favorite shark movies, hands down. It was one of my surprise hits of 2016 when it came out. I'll jump over to you, Brian, now. I mean, we already know that you liked it, but go ahead into it with The Shallows.
Yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't consider myself a Blake Lively fan, but I thought she'd been fine. Everything I'd seen her in, I hadn't seen her in much. Things like Accepted and stuff like that. And I think this is only this. I think at the time this is only her second lead, like top billed role was this, and then Age of Adeline before that. So she didn't really have a lot of lead roles. But I mean, she'd
Yeah,
been in.
I think those were the only ones then. But I mean, even then, like I just remember going, because I never watched Gossip Girl or anything like that. But I mean, she popped
Right,
up in
but I
like
knew who she
Green
was. I
Lantern.
didn't mind her or anything, but it's like I'm like she's an attractive woman. I don't mind watching her in 90 minutes for a bikini. Sold. I'll watch it just for that.
Well, yeah, like that's the whole Blue Crush effect.
While she was pregnant with her second kid, by the way. So
Yeah, I mean,
so she's gonna be in this. Apparently, she was inspired by her husband Ryan Reynolds because he had done Buried, where the whole movie was essentially him inside the coffin, and she kind of thought she wanted to try something like that, where it really it all depends on her. And the script had apparently been around for a couple of years in like the best unproduced scripts kind of lists that go around, like the blacklist they call it. And and so she decided to make this one, and honestly, I thought she did a great job. I think that
she was great.
well, the one thing I love about this movie is, and you see this in so few movies, is I love an intelligent protagonist. And I don't mean like
Yeah.
what they call the Mary Sues, who people just like know everything and can do everything and just have all the abilities. And I don't want
They
I don't want
they
the
like in the
Dom
beginning of the
Toretto's
movie, they
of the
seem like
world.
yeah, like in the beginning of the movie, they seem just like normal, and then as the movie progresses, it's like they're getting XP dump of
Right.
like all of a sudden, no, we know how to do everything. I was like,
Right,
when
but
did
she's
she
just an
do all
intelligent
this
person. Like
shit?
she was very innovative and what she needed to do to survive, and she thought of things, and she had intelligent thoughts and plans and to work out. And I love when you don't have a dumb protagonist, which especially in shark movies is often hard to come across because a lot of times half the people there are supposed to be dumb because they are just fodder for the shark for cool kill scenes.
Yeah,
But in
your
this one, you
the
essentially
cliche
have a
shit
cast
that
of
I
one.
hate.
I mean, there's technically I think like 8 people in this movie, but it's essentially a one-person movie, honestly.
It
I
is.
will say
It
though,
is.
the guy who drops her off and then gets her at the end, Oscar Yaneda, I think is his name. I know him from like The
Yeah.
Losers, and he's been in a couple other things. I always thought he should have a bigger career.
Thank you. I was like, where do I know this dude from? And you're right, he's from the fucking Losers.
That's
I
the
couldn't
main thing.
remember.
I
I
mean,
couldn't remember.
he's been in some other things, but like just supporting roles and stuff. And then he's done like some I don't
Mm.
know if they're Mexican or Spanish films or whatever. But I always thought he should have a bigger career. So I really liked him in The Losers. Here he was just a small part in it, but that's the whole
It's a small part, but it's well enough to the point that of all the people she meets, he was the memorable one. Now, even the two surfer guys, they weren't bad by any
Mhm.
means, but in terms of like a conversation and stuff, I thought it was a nice opening to establish her character, establish her goals, her motivations, her what have you, and to have a character like him in the movie where it's like he's driving her. He's kind of giving her little beats of information here and there, and just to show that, because especially in movies like this, when you have a girl who's alone, and they kind of do it a little bit with the surfers, you're kind of giving her that, oh
It's like, I don't
man,
know if I trust these guys. I don't want to go over by them. No, I'm good over here. Thanks. Yeah.
yeah, but you have him right from the get-go. You're like, yes, he's actually a genuinely good dude. And then to find out that the kid actually was his son, and he ends up coming
You know what I
over
loved
to
about
help
the
him.
opening? I had seen this when it first came out. I have not seen it since, and I had totally forgotten, much of the movie. But I was like, the kid's there, and he finds like the helmet
GoPro.
with the GoPro cam and stuff. And it wasn't until like later in the movie when it shows, I'm like, oh wait, this all happens afterwards. And then when there's that moment, I realized, just like the first time I watched, like, oh wait, he found the camera that she found it and filmed on it, and it took me a minute to figure that out. Of course, if going back, you realize, oh wait, we saw part of her board, and then you can know it's her board that was washed ashore and things like that. But I liked the way they did that, because it was, even like I said, even the second time I watched it, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Because like, even like I said, the second time I watched it, I completely forgot about it. And there's like those moments of realization, oh, that's the camera that she used. Oh, that's where her board came from, that kind of thing.
I also want to speak from experience. I've had a GoPro. The quality is nowhere fucking as good as that.
Maybe
My
they had a
GoPro
better
looked
one
like
than you.
maybe, but I remember I spent the good money on the GoPro, and I had mine was stuck in like the tunnel vision the whole fucking time. I couldn't get out of like the tunnel vision, looking like you're looking like when you look like backwards into a binocular and it looks like zero in like that. That's how my GoPro looked 95% of the time. I was like, this is a waste of money. So my GoPro never looked that good. but yeah. I agree. Blake Lively's character, and of course we keep calling her Blake Lively, Nancy.
Really, Nancy?
Have you noticed
I didn't
that
even know that.
all Nancy's
Yep,
Nancy's are always super smart. Nancy's are always super smart in movies, like horror movies. You got Freddy Krueger's Nancy. Yeah, Nancy's are that's just a smart character name. But I like you said, she's a smart, intelligent character. She, even when everything happens, she doesn't just scream bloody murder, and accepts her fate. She fights back. She because I'm sorry, who in their right mind would think, let's swim to the fucking dead whale and climb back on it, because that's where literally the shark lives right now.
Yeah.
Let's climb back on top of that thing. And then I love that she takes the time to kind of time the shark's movements, going and then they use the watch. I added to the suspense of those scenes, because you're watching her fight for that fucking camera. You're like, you got like 10 seconds. Get the fuck up. It's like, I love that. Like, I even love the shark in this, because you didn't have to do the Jaws thing with it. The shark felt real through most of this movie. Now, granted, 70s to 2010s, but it was one of those things where it didn't try to find cheap ways out. Everything that happens in this movie is well thought out script. It's like you said, it was a script that was just sitting there that wasn't being utilized, and it's really well written. Every element or everything that taps up into the thing, they don't try to dumb it down for the audience. They don't try to go, oh, it's just a shark movie. No, it's like, no, this is a shark movie. Let's treat this like it's legit. Where her leg, two it's really one day, but granted, it's almost 2 days by the time she fucking gets saved and shit. Like the effects of her leg, she's getting gangrene, she's losing feeling, all this stuff. And I love that they didn't go, oh, she got bit and she's hanging out, but she's fine. No, she's not fine. She's getting dehydrated, she's getting sunburned, she's getting all this stuff because she's stuck on this damn rock. And I love that,
somebody just stepped on, or their leg hit coral or something, I was like, oh, it's just slicing.
Yes, because and you constantly see it on her foot, and when she actually puts her hand in it, and then the jellyfish part, you're just like,
oh, that jellyfish.
Even when the shark gets it, you're like, oh, that hurt. Shark felt that one. It's like I loved all that, because this movie just felt as real as it could be, and then even the effect, when she grabs the flares, but all the flares got wet, so nothing. It's like, but it's like, that makes sense. Those flares wouldn't shoot like that if they got wet. I loved how all this made sense, and I love that it was an overarching story from the beginning of the movie about she lost her mother, and she basically, in a sense, ran away from everything. she just needed to be off her own. She needed to vent and mourn and do things her way, to the point where she abandoned her duties as a sister and as a daughter and in med school. But it's those things that kept her surviving. Her going to med school and actually, from the sounds of it, being a very good fucking student of that, is what saved her life from bleeding out to death. It's what kept her alive for as long as she did. It's her determination to not die and do all this kind of stuff that helps her persevere throughout the film. And then even when you have that moment where she's talking into the camera, just the way Blake Lively sells that whole thing when she's trying to talk to her sister and her father, and she's like holding back tears at certain moments, but then she's like, I've accepted my fate, but I'm not going to go down without a fight. I'm probably not going to win this, but I want you guys to know that I'm going to do this. And this is what, and I am running out of time. I got to go. I got to do it now. Like all that stuff. It's so well done. And it's just like, I remember watching this in the theater. I was just like, holy crap. This movie is blowing my mind at just how insane that they're taking this. Like I was prepared to just it be another schlocky, like, oh my god, I trapped her, and stuff like that. But it's like, no, like Blake Lively, this is her best performance, hands down. I've never seen her do better than this. Granted, she's acting a little bit more now. I mean, she's basically been, the mom for Ryan Reynolds' family. She hasn't got to do a whole lot.
Usually when she shows up, it's in supporting roles, like in The Town and things like that. But.
Yeah. And she was fine in The Town. But it's just, this is a movie where I'm watching her, I was like, you know what? Has she not, constantly kept getting pregnant from Ryan Reynolds, which, I mean, you're fucking Ryan Reynolds. I get it, Blake. I get it. But it's like, this is a movie that you can, and even The Town to a point as well. She probably could have had a way bigger career if she was doing more stuff like this, where she shows off her talent. And even, like I said, this director, has he done anything else? I wanted to look it up, but I forgot.
He did a bunch of Liam Neeson's, like, formula movies like Nonstop and Commuter and some of those things. But then he went on to become like he's the guy who directed The Rock in Jungle Cruise and then in Black Adam.
Oh, well, that's not. Yeah, Run All Night, Nonstop, Unknown. Yeah, he did get on the Liam Neeson train for a while. He did do Orphan and House of Wax, which I liked both of those. But yeah, and I also love how.
Oh, it's by far
this
his best
movie shot. What? Shallows?
Yeah, it's by far his best movie. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought you were saying House of Wax. I was like, no, this is better than House of Wax.
No.
I mean, granted, you got to kill Paris Hilton. Kudos, bro. But I mean, just the way this movie was shot as well. I loved how they shot this movie. The surfing scenes looked fun and gorgeous. Like the scenery shots, the cinematography of this movie is fantastic.
It really is.
And everything. I love everything about this movie. There's only one little nitpick, and it's a little nitpick. So the drunk dude, he dies and he crawls back to shore, half his body. Like this guy, the surfer dudes and the little kid didn't see his body, because isn't his body on the shore? Because they kind of just forgot about that as soon as he died.
Yeah,
like that kid's playing soccer all the way down the beach shoreline until she finds that helmet. Wouldn't he have come across that fucking dude's body at some point? Same thing with the surfers, because they drove up that day. You're telling me they didn't see that fat dude's half his body just hanging? Because I doubt
maybe
water
something dragged him away. I don't know.
I was just like, I would doubt his body would have washed back out to shore. If anything, it would, because of his weight, it probably would have stayed on land.
I know how high the tide gets there. I don't know. But.
Yeah, that's the only nitpick I had, because I was watching and I was like, I don't recall them ever spotting his body.
Yeah, no, because my thing is like,
they spotted because when what's his name, the dad, is it Oscar, the actor?
Character? Oh yeah, the actor. Oh, the kids. Yeah, that's Oscar.
Yeah, the kid's dad, because he sees the dead surfer on land, which we didn't even know that body got back on land. The first guy who gets attacked, because he had that white like surfer suit, like the dude who could actually speak English.
Mm-hmm.
His body was on shore, which we didn't even know his body made it to shore, because because the dad sees his body, and then he sees Blake Lively's body. But yeah, we just completely forgot about the fat drunk dude. Yeah, that's that one part. I was like, where did that guy go? But yeah, I love this movie. If you granted we spoiled the shit out of this whole talking through. Well, we didn't spoil the main parts, but we went through some good plot points. But if you guys have never seen The Shallows, this is a must watch for anyone who's a shark fan. This is a fantastic, just fantastically well done shark movie. Just even as a thriller, like take the shark part out of it, this is just an incredibly well done movie.
Well, especially as a thriller, because I think that, while I overstepped, I think, when I said it was as good or better. I don't think it's better than Jaws. Because it's different. Because like Jaws obviously has the character moments, the interaction, the dialogue and stuff, and that's what makes that movie. Like, because like, I mean, the big thing is that you don't see the shark for
The
most of
characters
movie.
and the journey that they take. It's not
Right.
the shark.
And it's not about someone out there being attacked by the shark. It's about this whole thing
it's a journey.
surrounding the shark.
Yeah.
But this one, I think it has more, obviously just because the kind of movie it is, it has more tension, more excitement, I think, than Jaws. And it's just done so very well. The only thing
in under 90 minutes.
I don't like about this movie, and I wouldn't say I don't like it, it just feels out of place to me. Like the last 10 minutes of the movie feel like a whole different movie. That feels more like a Deep Blue Sea kind of thing, where all of a sudden it gets all action oriented and she's fighting against a shark and it's attacking her in the movie, and it's just everything is amped up to this level. It's like the rest of the movie has not been like this. It's like before it was like she was on its feeding grounds basically, and so it was attacking her. But like then she goes over to this buoy, and now it's like it's personal. This thing is after her. It wants to kill her.
It's
and
not.
It's like
It's not personal. The point is that she keeps bleeding into the water, and the shark is food. Like it knows she's wounded, and that's why it's been kind of saying. It's been staying
out of the water and up in the buoy. It's like jumping up and knocking her out and things
because
like
it knows
that.
she's there. Because he knows
it still has a whole whale to eat over here. But just even just the tone of the whole thing, with like her trying to shoot the flare gun, and then when she's like "fuck you," and then you see the shark burning up, and then
that's the only part. I think it's because of what, the whale blubber, the whale oil.
Yeah, and then when she does that thing, when she like it has the chain, it's pulling her down, and so the shark chases down, and she moves the last second, which I'm not sure
I love that.
And it impales it. That just totally feels like a test audience edition. Like, we want to see her kill the shark. She has to be victorious. And it's
she didn't kill the shark. She just outsmarted the shark.
That last 10 minutes of it just felt like a different movie to me. And it was exciting. It was exciting. It was just such a change in tone.
Here's my question for you, though. Then how would you have ended it? Would you have ended it with dying?
No, I think the best way they should have ended it is like, she is recording that thing. She's on the buoy. She's essentially safe, whatever. And she records that thing to her family. And
she already let go of the thing at that point.
Yeah, and then she threw it back in the water.
Yeah, before the buoy.
And I think the kid walking up and finding it, and this time you see what he sees, that he sees her saying, "I'm on this buoy," blah blah blah, and he looks out there. I say end the movie right there, because she's gotten safe, her journey's over, and you don't have to have a whole thing.
And just leave the shark alone.
Just leave the shark alone. It just lives in the water, because the shark's still.
I think, and you're right that if that would have been the initial ending, the test audiences would have been like, we're gonna show.
Yeah, because the general public said, we want to see her kill the shark, and it's
not necessarily kill the shark, not necessarily her versus the shark, but you needed another shark thing in it. You can't. I love the journey to that third act ending, because
it was exciting. I just think it was just a jarring change in tone.
I can see where you're coming from on that. I like that, but I mean But it was one of those things.
It didn't hurt my enjoyment of the movie at all.
But let's say, here's the thing, though. It didn't do the Meg, where she's grabbing onto the shark's fin and stabbing him in the eye or some shit. No, she uses. No, she didn't. She literally uses the tools she has at her disposal. The ladder thing breaks, and in the moment she reacts, she stabs it, which didn't really do anything. And then, because it's a fucking anchor thing, it pulls her down. She sees that thing and just moves at the last second, and the shark is going full blown, because it's still a shark. It's not going to know any better. And so it was still a smart way to end said film. Now, granted, I will say this, where she's at and how far down in the water she goes, with as weak as she is, it probably would have been really, really fucking hard for her to get back up to the top without fucking drowning. It probably really would have, because her one leg's fucked. She's constantly in pain from the coral and the jellyfish, and she's incredibly weak at the same time. So the chances of her probably making it back up to the surface after all that probably would not.
Well, also being pulled down straight down as fast as she was, I'm not quite sure how she managed to go over like that so the shark could hit it.
Well, I mean, granted, all she had it. I mean,
these are nitpicks. Like I said, it didn't affect the enjoyment of the movie. Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that with as at the speed she was getting pulled down and where she was at the state of mind of her body, I would have found it very hard to believe that she probably would have survived that. She probably would have died. But you don't want to have her defeat the shark and then just drown. That's such an ominous, like that was a dark ending. But anyway, I don't think this is on any streaming though. I have the Blu-ray, obviously, so I watched it off that.
Yeah, me as well. I literally just closed that tab. Hang on a second.
I don't think it is because I think I tried searching for it on streaming before I went downstairs and got the Blu-ray.
No, it is. It's on Tubi TV for free. Obviously, you can rent it and buy it everywhere, but it's for free streaming with ads on Tubi TV.
But yeah, if you're a fan of shark movies or anything like that, and you've not seen this movie, I strongly urge you to go out of your way to see this one. Like I said, it's under 90 minutes. You can get through it pretty quick. But like I said, in my opinion, it's the best shark movie since Jaws. Brian doesn't agree with that, but Brian also didn't really dispute it either. But yeah, Shallow's definitely a must watch. Check it out if you haven't. Next, we're going to go to Brian's movie. This was a movie that I had heard of, knew nothing about it. So I never watched it until this week. And that is the, how would you describe it? It's a
coming of age comedy.
Coming of age drug comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, dramedy. Yeah, dramedy would be the right.
It's not like a drug movie. It's more of a crime.
It kind of is though.
A coming of age crime dramedy. I don't know.
I would say more drug than crime. But we're talking about the 2015 film Dope. Dope came out June 19, 2015. Had a budget of $7 million. Had a weekend opening of $6.10 million. It opened up 5th on the ranking in its opening weekend. That was its highest ranking. And had a finished box office of $17.99 million, $17.51 million domestic, and $480,311 international. Now, I will say this. I think watching this now compared to 2015 helped immensely with this because of the cast and who we know these people are. In 2015, this movie probably wouldn't have been shit for me, but now it definitely was a lot better in my eyes because of the cast. But this is your movie, so take it away.
Yeah, so Dope, the synopsis here: Malcolm is carefully surviving life in a tough neighborhood in Los Angeles while juggling college applications, academic interviews, and the SAT. A chance invitation to an underground party leads him to an adventure that could allow him to go from being a geek to being dope to ultimately being himself. So yeah, you have Shameik Moore, who is the voice of Miles Morales in the Spider-Verse movie.
Yep.
He hasn't honestly done much else. He showed up in a Netflix Christmas film. He did the Get Down, which is a great music Baz Luhrmann show on Netflix. But he hasn't done a whole lot. But he plays the lead character Malcolm, who is this like 90s obsessed kid. It's him and his friends kind of obsessed with the 90s music, 90s style, 90s everything. Honestly, at the beginning of the movie, I'm like, oh, I forgot this movie takes place in the 90s. Then you realize, oh, it doesn't. It's just he's stuck in the 90s. But it's basically him and his friends. They're kind of considered geeks or outcasts or whatever. I mean, he's clearly a very smart kid. He's applying to college, things like that. But then he's growing up in this area where there's gangs and drug dealers and things like this. And they have to take certain routes home to try and avoid it and things like that. And it's just kind of the conflict of those two parts of his life. First and foremost, yeah, the cast of this movie. You have Shameik Moore, who I already talked about. You have Kiersey Clemons, who has done a few things, but she most recently showed up in the Flash movie. She's in this. Tony Revolori is the third kid in this triumvirate. Obviously, he's had a huge career since then. You also have Lakeith Stanfield, credited just as Keith in this, which I looked at his IMDb, and he goes from Keith to Keith Lee to Lakeith to Lakeith with a capital K, and he apparently changes his mind. He goes back and forth between them too, so I don't know how he decides.
Let's put it this way: we all know who Lakeith Stanfield is.
Yeah, Lakeith Stanfield's in this. It's a lot of other recognizable faces, but those kind of the main ones jump out. Zoe Kravitz shows up in that.
Blake Anderson.
Yeah, and Blake Anderson from Workaholics. Which he's a lot of fun in this movie. I especially love the scene with him where he's like, I want to say the N-word, and she's like, no, you can't.
I love the moment where they or Malcolm's trying like, you know what, just say it. Just
Give
say
him
it.
one. Let's give
Just
him
say
one.
it.
Let's say it.
Just say it once, and no one will be mad. And oh god, what's Clemens' name in this movie? Dig.
She's like, fine, go ahead. No,
She's like,
okay.
I will. She goes, I'm still gonna slap the shit out of you. And he's like, no, she won't. No, she won't. Just say
She gets
it.
up on it. She's like, fine.
Whack. He's like, what?
Sorry, instinct.
reflex.
reflex.
I laughed so hard at that scene.
Yeah, Blake Anderson's great comic relief in this movie, though. But yeah, the cast across the board. You have the director, Rick Famuyiwa. I hope I pronounced that right. Which nobody would know who he was at the time. I don't think he has directed some of the best episodes of Mandalorian, of Boba Fett, of I think he did some on another show too. But
he didn't do Obi-Wan.
Yeah, but you obviously I didn't realize till I watched this, so I looked him up. He did The Wood, which I know you really liked. I think did previously on Weekend Crusaders. I think at one point.
He did the Chai. Oh, he was a producer. My bad. I thought he directed it.
Oh, yeah, but he's only has a handful of movies. So this is obviously kind of his biggest movie to date. And he hasn't really done anything since then. But like I said, he's been focusing on TV. But he's put out some of the best episodes of those TV shows. I think that the way this thing is directed, it's great. It's got kind of a unique style to it, a unique tone to it, and it's a movie that very easily could have been like a goofy coming of age comedy, or it could have been getting too serious and too into it, like the Boys in the Hood kind of movies, things like that. As far as like the trying to grow up in this Los Angeles hood or whatever. And so, but I think that he does a good balancing act because there's plenty of comedy but plenty of drama. Neither one ever kind of outweighs the other one. It does lose a little bit of steam with me towards the very end, and especially like the end speech kind of gets very preachy. It just seems very unnecessary. I'm just like I get where they're going with it, but it's like the rest of the movie hasn't really said that, but they kind of got a little preachy at the end. But again, like with Shallows, it didn't really affect my enjoyment of the movie. I gotta say though, for a guy who's considered a geek, I was kind of a geek in school. I never grew up and spent a day having like multiple hot chicks all wanting to get with me.
Yeah, no shit. And this
like you got Zoe Kravitz, like basically almost getting with him. You got the other girl, I forget her name, the one who's like naked and basically says, "Come on in here." He keeps the condoms over there. Let's go.
Yeah,
I'm like, this never happened to me. Like he's having a great day. I don't know what he's talking about with a bad day.
I mean, he is staying within the Spider-Man of it all. He is the equivalent of like Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker, where you're like, you're not a geek. You're just you do geeky things, but you're a very attractive dude. Yeah. Like as long as you play it cool and not go overly geek, you can get anyone you want. Like let's be real.
And additionally, and I will say that this is a kind of a good pair with Shallows. I like, once again, he's an intelligent kid. It's not some goofy dude. It's not some idiot. This isn't some dumb comedy. It's like he's a smart kid. I mean, the whole thing is how smart he is. Now he wants to go to college, deserves to go to college, but because of where he grows up in, it's kind of a stumbling block on his way to get to that. And when they come up with their whole idea of instead of just dealing dope or selling drugs in normal ways, like we can do this through Bitcoin, and they set up this whole store and things like this. And it's just like it's nice to have smart characters to root for.
Yeah, I definitely didn't know what to expect from this movie because I didn't read the synopsis or anything. I just knew it was dope, and I was like, well, I know dope as drugs or dope is cool, so it can go one or two ways. And
I'm sorry, I want to interrupt for a minute. At the very beginning of the movie, the first thing you see is they bring up the definition of dope on screen, and it's basically it's the drug, and it's like it's something dope, like it's cool, or it's also like if things are just going crazy, like this is dope, like things are going wrong. It's like all three definitions all fit this movie. Sorry, go ahead.
Absolutely. And like I said, I didn't know really because Brian was like, "We're picking this." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I don't really know if I care to see this. And you're like, "Well, Shamik Moore's in it," and I was like, "All right." And I was like, "Oh, Tony Revolori. I love Tony. I love him so much." And and then of course, oh God, is it Kiersey Clemens? I didn't want to say her first name wrong. I didn't care about her in The Flash, but I loved her in this.
Yeah.
She's great in this. She's
so everything to do in The Flash. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's not her fault. That's literally the writing of her in Flash and Justice League, Snyder Cut to a point. I mean, if they gave her the time in Flash, I probably would have actually enjoyed her performances. But the Flash, they didn't give her a time of day. But yeah, like I said, I didn't know what this movie was going to be. I didn't know if it was going to be serious or comedy. And it's like I said, it's a mixture of both. How Shamik Moore has not done more since this movie, with obviously, Spider-Verse is a totally different thing, but this kid is great in this movie. He's a really well done actor. I mean, I was honestly like going into this movie, I forgot that he was in it. I was like, is this something that John Boyega's in? Because I was thinking like this is something I would see John Boyega in. But no, Shamik Moore is great. Like, why has he not done more? It doesn't make sense. And like I said, Tony is funny in the movie. I mean, as funny as you can be for what this movie was asking for.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought Clemens was great. I thought she was funny in her moments. Even oh god, what's his name? Is it AC Rock?
ASAP Rocky.
ASAP Rocky.
I think it's not ASAP. It's got a dollar sign, so I'm not into that music. So I don't know.
Yeah, because I mean, he could have been the cliche drug dealer guy, but his character was actually like I love that interaction when he first has with Malcolm, where he's like, dude, what's with this getup? What's with this? And he's like, oh, I'm from this to this, and then he fucking just like, dude, first off, that thing was in 1987. That was in 2000. So I was like, so what the fuck are you talking? I was like, oh, this guy's actually smart. Like, he's actually like, he knows his shit too, yeah. And he doesn't bully Malcolm at all.
Yeah, so you see these movies like they stop some kid and they like basically force him to start drug running for him or stuff like that. It's not like
what's he force him to do? Hey, go talk to that girl over there for me.
Go tell her I wanted to come over here and talk to her.
Yeah, and then even when it gets to the point when the drugs thing happens, because as soon as he gets back, I was like, oh, he totally put the drugs in the bag. It's not like, you got to do this for me. It's like, nah, dude, run, go to this guy, give him the stuff, and get out of this. Like, even he was like, I don't want you to be a drug guy. You are a smart kid. And it's just like, oh, it's a shit situation because of what happened. But I kind of wish we would have gotten a little more of him by the end, because we didn't. But it was one of those things where I liked his character for what it was, because he didn't do the cliche normal shit. The only part of him where I was like, oh, dude, you didn't have to do this when they did the argument with him and the bouncer guy, because I was like, dude, just let him go. Let the bouncer guy go. The guy was just doing his job. I was like, you didn't have to do that. But yeah, like you said with The Shallows, I like how smart Malcolm is in this movie. And yes, the women are all over Malcolm in this. Zoe Kravitz and Chanel Iman, especially Chanel Iman. It's like, dude, what the like, wow, like, okay, calm down. Like, this is weird. But there was a couple things I didn't love about it, and there are things that I really did love about it. Besides, obviously, the cast, I didn't like the connection to AJ. I'll just say that, because you're gonna know what I'm talking about. But people who haven't seen the movie don't know. The connection to AJ, I was like, I don't know if I like this impasse.
Convenient coincidence, yeah.
Yes, because then it was like, because it takes the movie on a whole different journey and a whole different wavelength, which I didn't hate the journey, but I didn't need it to be with that pinpoint, because then you have that, like you said, that moment at the end of the movie, which even I was like, nah, I don't. Or we talking about at the end with AJ, or are you talking about the letter he wrote that you didn't?
Well, I was mainly the letter, but kind of both.
I liked the letter. It was more or less how he is just too smart for everybody out there. Which was like, if you're that smart, then you probably shouldn't have fallen into some of these issues at the end. But he's still a clever kid. But and that's another thing too, is like, as clever as he is, he knows when he needs to ask for help, which is where he finds Blake Anderson. And Blake Anderson, like I said, Ian, yeah, he's funny in this movie. But I like that he was like, teach me or show me how you do these things, and then instead of relying on you, I'll take what I'm paying attention, and then I'll do it, because you can't trust Blake Anderson's character to a point. And
he's like, just pay me in ecstasy.
Or Molly.
Molly.
And I also love that it was Molly and it wasn't like cocaine or heroin like it normally is in the movie. It's like
Molly, which they renamed Lily because of the sister. Lily.
Yes. But going into that, what I did love, I love the music in this movie.
The music was the stuff, especially the stuff their band played. Yes. Because apparently Pharrell Williams made all the music. And although I think they did their own singing and stuff, but I love that. Actually, after I watched the movie, I was like listening to the soundtrack on Spotify.
Yeah, it's like I love their songs. Their songs were fun
Yeah.
and great and like I said, and just the mindset that Malcolm uses in order to do what he wants to do in the third act, how he uses his surroundings to do those certain things, I really, really liked. I do think Zoe Kravitz's character was underutilized because like she's in the beginning and then all this stuff happens and then she comes in at the very end and then you have this like argument and then it's still brought up again later. It's like she has not been in this movie long enough for us to give a shit about.
That's the, I feel like her character was like unnecessary. I didn't mind her being there, but it was like you took cut out her character, it wouldn't have really changed much.
Exactly. It's like I didn't mind her character or her. She's fine in the film, but I feel like her character was missing maybe 2 more scenes through the middle of the film. She needed to pop back up at least 2 more scenes to make her character, fluidly matter to Malcolm because it didn't seem like great and because we do time jump a little bit in going into the end of the second act and third act while they're doing what they're doing. We go ahead of like a few weeks, and it's like, okay, you guys haven't talked since that one moment, but then even that one moment, you guys hadn't talked since this previous moment. You guys have had 3 interactions this whole movie, and we're supposed to buy that you guys are at this level. I'm missing something here. There's a subplot that is not being utilized to its fullest potential. And that was one problem where I was just like, I feel like I should be caring about this character more, but we're not given the time or the scenes to give a shit about her or care about her in any way. And it's not Zoe Kravitz's fault. It's literally just she's just not given the time. Much like Clemens in The Flash, she's not given the time to have us give a shit about her. But this was a movie that I wasn't expecting to like. And by the end of it, all I kept thinking was like, I would love to see Shameik more and more stuff. I really would, because I enjoyed the hell out of this.
Yeah, right after this, I watched a movie he did put out during like the height of the pandemic called Cutthroat City, where he gets to play. It's not kind of because I mean this character kind of feels like Miles Morales.
It totally is. And when you're watching this movie, all I heard was Miles.
Oh, that's all you can hear. Yeah,
he's right around the same age.
So I watched Cutthroat City, which it turns out he's like a good guy, he's a family man, that, but he gets involved in like these crime and these these casino heists and things like that. And it's actually a good movie, and I thought he played a good part. And so I'm like, I actually want to see more of this kid, but he hasn't done that much.
But yeah, if you guys love Into the Spider-Verse, who the fuck doesn't love Into the Spider-Verse or Across the Spider-Verse? This is basically Miles, except he doesn't have the Mexican heritage because his mom.
Half, yeah,
he's half. Obviously, he doesn't have that in this movie. But you're listening to him talk, it's like he's basically Miles without the Spider-Man powers.
Is it Puerto Rican? Whatever it is.
Puerto Rican? Yeah, it might be Puerto Rican. But yeah, like the whole time watching the movie, I was like, this is basically Miles to a point. Which I didn't hate it. I liked it. I liked that. It makes me want to see him more, and maybe when we get around to a date next year or something, you could pitch Cutthroat City, and I'll check it out and watch it. So we can use it for the show if it's good enough to be on the show. That is. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't like outright love it, but I mean, it was still a solid 4-star movie. I the parts in it that I like, I really, really like, and the stuff I didn't like, they didn't ruin the film for me. They were more like with You with the Shallows, nitpicks. I didn't like the correlation of the AJ character. I didn't like where they went with that character, but it's not in it enough to downgrade the film. And you didn't like the letter at the end of the movie. I didn't mind the letter, but I didn't like the end point of the main plot or the main thing he's going through. But it didn't, like I said, it's fine. I just didn't like how it kind of all wrapped up in that way. But by the end of the day, I did enjoy this movie quite a bit, and the music is just stellar.
It's one of the best parts of the movie. Yeah,
it's the best. Yeah, like every time they sang, I was like, yes, all for this.
I want to see a real band. Come on.
Yes, like, and then even the very end during the credits,
dancing. Yeah,
I was watching him dance through the whole thing, like doing every single dance I could think of while playing that music. I was like, I'm like, normally I would just stop the movie, but I'm like, I just want to keep watching Shameik dance. I just see him keep doing. I want to see how much he's going to do this all the way through. But yeah, no, it was solid. I liked it. Anything else you want to add?
No, I'm just glad I introduced you one you liked for once.
Yeah. Netflix. It's
On Netflix. Yes.
Yeah, I was like, I watched it on Netflix. But yeah, that is our episode. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys did, go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos pop up on the Movie Crusaders. And of course, we're going to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Coming up next, we've got we're bringing back franchise flashback. We are going back and talking about all 4 of the Indiana Jones films before Indiana Jones. Yes, there is 4. Before Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny comes out next week, which we will be having a non-spoiler and spoiler discussion for that because that is one of Brian's favorite franchises of all time. And as you can see over his shoulder there, so we will definitely be talking about that next week when that comes out. We will also be. You almost
the whole thing fell. It's not my fault. Go on.
You damn cat. We will also be back next week for our next episode of the Weekly Crusaders. I am talking about probably one of my favorites. Would you call it a war film?
Yeah.
I mean, it is, but it isn't at the same time. I don't know. But probably hands down one of my favorite ever. I think I watch this movie like every year around this time. And Brian's movie, once again, is a movie that I never saw. It is based off a classic tale, done with I don't know, how do you want to say it without me giving something away?
Well, I will say it's another one that since the movie came out, the cast has blown up. I mean, some of them were well known, but some of them other ones have blown up pretty big.
This was a movie that when it came out, it got bashed profusely, which is why I didn't see it. But Brian apparently picked this because he thinks it's good enough to watch. So we'll see.
It is. It's one of those that I'm not going to try and say it's the best movie of all time or anything, but it's like I don't understand why it got bashed because it's a very enjoyable movie, and I think you'll enjoy it.
And at least based off the 3 leads, in theory, I should like it because I really like all 3 leads. But I just heard how bad it was, and I just didn't even give it the time of day. So we'll see how that goes next week. Also, Cinemasochism will be coming back to tie in with the release of Secret Invasion, which Brian's watched the first episode, and I have not watched it yet because I just have not been in the mood for it. But maybe after Cinemasochism, maybe I'll finally check out that first episode.
It's not going to make you want to watch it.
We will see. We will see. But coming up here in about 2 weeks, we are through June, which means we are halfway through the year, which means our Movie Crusaders half year in review will be coming out, where we will be talking about our top 10 films of the year so far, some of our worst films of the year, our most surprising and our most disappointing films of the year. Get all of the first half of 2023 out of the way, and we look forward to the end of summer and into the fall winter season, where who knows what surprises go along the way.
And I will say this year, a much better first half of the year than last year.
Yes, absolutely. The landscape of movies in 2023 is drastically different than it was in.
We weren't scraping to find movies to put on our list. We had to cut things off. So
yeah, compared to the last 3 years, this is a way better year for us. And we'll explain that why on the show. But we got plenty of videos coming up. Hope you guys tune in, check that out. But until next time, we are the Movie Crusaders. I'm Sean Waskrug. That is Brian Michaels. And until next time, in case we don't see you, go watch some movies. Go have some fun.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.